It's a good afternoon ho gaya hai. So good afternoon, everyone, and thanks to joining this today's session, which is Target Market Understanding. And we are pleased to have with us Dr. Abhinav Chaturvedi, who is the Associate Professor of Practice, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship at the School of Management at BML Munjal University. So he has Sir has a rich experience in industry and academic experience in entrepreneurship, marketing strategy, and startup development with a strong focus on helping innovators can say align ideas with real customer needs. So without taking so much time now, sir, it's up to you. I invite you to take the session forward, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Siraj, and for all those heavy words. I am just learning things by speaking to students like them. And it is always very good to interact with students because we get to learn a lot. And I don't know how much students are learning, but then we definitely learn. And we try to put it in our head here and try to give something back to them.
Mhm.
So when Mr. Siraj actually told me about this session, I was kind of confused. I said, okay, what should I tell? Because nowadays almost everything is available to everyone.
Exactly. Yes.
So I thought that let me first probably give a very brief understanding of how one startup should actually proceed. And if I take it from the point of view of student based startups, that's even better because I am a firm believer that students at an early age, let's say
Mhm.
from seventh, eighth standard onwards, they should be exposed to more creative things. Because I'm sure some of you would agree that the kind of education we are receiving, room for creativity and innovation is limited. I would not say it's not there, but it is limited.
Mhm.
So we need more avenues and platforms and opportunities so that we can actually showcase those
Mhm.
creative talents that we all have. And students especially have a lot of talent, which I have seen.
Mhm.
So my understanding is that if you're working on a project, whether it's a science project, whether it's a project to solve a problem in the society, uh, and I'm sure you have gone through certain stages of developing that idea into a
Mhm.
concrete solution. A lot of times, students ask me this question: that, sir, how is my idea? Or a lot of people, even the startup founders, they ask me that, how is this idea? How do you think this idea is? Is it good or is it bad?
Mhm.
I always tell them the idea is of zero value. The reason being because we all get ideas every day.
Yes.
When you start implementing, when you start working towards it and converting that idea into a valuable solution for somebody to probably solve his or her problem, then we get to know whether the idea has a potential or whether it'll probably need a pivoting so that it can actually take another shape from what we have thought of.
Mhm.
So, keeping that in mind, I feel that if you have a project, the most important thing for any person who is working on a project or has probably translated that idea into a kind of a prototype or a proof of concept also, then the next stages would be to first understand whose problem are you going to solve, and is there a person in your mind who is there whom you can actually go and say, hey, I know you have a problem, can I give you a solution? So it should be at that level.
Mhm.
So our first understanding should be, what is the market like for us? Is there a market for us? Because if you see any of the studies or reports,
Mhm.
people say about 90-95% of startups they fail. So why do they fail is the question. Yes, Shivansh, you have a question, I believe. Your microphone is not working. That's okay. You can type your query in the chat box and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
So, not a problem. Yeah. So, as I was saying, that we need to understand whose problem is it. But even before that, we first need to understand, is there a market? And what is this market all about? So, what I would first recommend, and I think I have a few slides to show. I will just probably share that with you, and
Mm.
then probably then we can proceed a little forward. Yes, just give me a second. Let me share this. Yeah. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Good. So the first step, which I always tell everyone, is do your market research. And otherwise, you know what will happen. You will probably not understand how the customer feels. Who's your customer? You can't identify. There are millions of people out there. There are millions of ideas day in day out. People are trying to bring out, but then we don't know who exactly is the customer. Or maybe in certain cases there is a customer and there is a consumer. So we need to understand with the help of market research that what do they think, what do they feel, and how do they believe that these things are happening. Now, while you will see on my slides certain cartoons, because I always try to convey things in a very subtle manner. And while these cartoons may look very contradictory or very funny, but then we need to understand that what are those things which we should not do, as in the mistakes that we should not do. All right. So while I will give you information and probably like to know more about your projects, I would also like to set the stage that we understand the very fundamentals and basics of it. So the first thing is market research. And why market research is important is because if you don't know whether there is a market for your particular project or for a proof of concept or for a prototype, then it cannot be called a solution. Because see, if there is nobody to buy it, if there's nobody to use it or derive value out of it, then there's no point. Well, it can be put in your rooms or houses, and you can always file a patent and say, "Hey, I came up with a great idea, and I've kind of created a proof of concept, but then I don't know whether there's a market or not." So, market research is something which we need to really do. And let me warn you, please do not do market research with the help of AI, chat GPTs, and all, because you will not connect with the customer. What you need is you need to go, step out of your house, step out of your school, step out of the places where you are, and just go and understand what is happening around in the world. And in order to do that, I always give this one pro tip to everyone: observe more and start making notes. A lot of our surroundings can be scanned basis primarily just by observing. For example, if you go to a mall, if you go to a movie theater, you should observe what is the design, what is the layout, how are the products placed, what are people doing, and what are the gadgets which are there. So, in totality, you will start understanding that if I have to come out with a solution, it will be in this context. So, observation allows you to understand the context much better than doing those surveys and other things. So, market research becomes very critical. The second most important thing is, well, I said, who is your customer or whose problem are you trying to solve? So, you need to create personas. And personas are basically kind of fictional characters. Okay, like you have your Iron Man and Supermans and Spider-Mans who have certain special powers. you create your own personas. And this persona creation happens when you have kind of identified that, oh, I am looking for a person who's like, let's say, Professor Abhinav, who is middle aged, who travels a long distance from his own car, and he is good in communication. He likes movies of certain kind. He also specializes in certain subjects. So, what am I doing? I am trying to create a character sketch of a person whom I think will probably buy my product eventually. So, personas from the market research, all the observations that you have, you kind of try to understand what kind of a customer I'm looking at. Now, a lot of people will tell you that no, first you understand your target market and then probably go on and then start creating personas. But my personal experience says that if I don't know whom I'm looking for, then why am I going there and scanning the whole world? So I should be very clear in my head that, okay, this is the kind of person I want. For example, if I am looking for all students aged 16 to 18 years, wearing spectacles, and have a liking towards soccer. Now, see, these four parameters I have kind of narrowed down. I can even further go down and figure out that, okay, how many of them are actually playing soccer often, and all those things. So I am, in a way, from a very large population, I'm trying to focus and then say, hey, this is my persona. I'm looking for people who will probably align more or less like this. So that's very important. And see, another very important thing is sometimes we always probably mistake that, oh, I know whom I am going to sell. And eventually it turns out that that was not your ideal customer. And you kind of try to keep pushing. So in a startup world, or in a business venture world, or in a family business also, it is very, very clear that you have to kind of understand that this is going to be my buyer, and this buyer is to be very well understood. Sometimes a lot of people ask me, and they tell me this question, that my target persona is aged between 18 years to 30 years. Now that's very big, because when you are 18 years or maybe less than that, you have a very different mindset, you have a very different set of likings and dislikes. When you're 20 to 25, you're in a different zone altogether. You're graduating, you're kind of trying to get a job. And then when you are moving 25 to 30, you're already kind of having a job initial years. So everything matters. You just can't blindly say that, no, I'm trying to solve a problem for 18 to 30 or 35. So this persona helps us not only in terms of identification, but it also gives us clarity that, oh, this is the kind of solution they will probably prefer. So whatever ideas you have, you're trying to translate it into a solution. That's why you have a proof of concept or a prototype. And another very important thing is, you don't guess. You go, you look around. That's what I said, observation. You scan the market, and then you try to figure out that, oh, I am kind of figuring out that when I saw this person in a particular place, and now I'm seeing another person of a similar kind, so this is the kind of people I want to target. Like, there are a lot of people who, when they travel, they carry a book in their hand. So whenever I go to an airport or other things, I always see how many people are actually carrying a book and reading. So if I tomorrow, if I have to come up with a solution for travelers who are fond of reading, then I can probably think that, okay, whenever I travel, I see so many people. So, and I kind of take a rough estimate that if there are 50 people sitting, how many are actually reading a book. So that's a kind of heuristic, or a thumb of the rule that I kind of use and narrow down a number. So observations help you to not only understand the market, but also understand the kind of persona you would want to target to. And obviously, sometimes it is very difficult that how do we decide that what are the different types of personas. So what happens, there is a lot of overlap, because every human being has some commonality, yet they're very different. So they're different from their personalities, they're different from their behaviors, and so on and so forth. But there are still some overlaps. So while you're looking at people, you need to understand that, okay, what is it that is differentiating person A from person B? While they all look alike, they all may probably have similar habits, similar way of communicating, similar likes and dislikes. But that boundary has to be very well understood. And that will probably help you focus and say, okay, yeah, I like this person because he or she is a fan of a particular music artist, or I like this person and I think this is the right person because he or she has certain traits which I'm looking for. So that's how your persona is kind of identified, or you create it, and you kind of start looking at people around that. Then comes the big question: target market. Now, while you have maybe one or two personas in mind, you have to actually go out and look for those people. So, probably if you're trying to solve a problem of book lovers, then you probably go into those markets where there are more cafes, bookshops, or probably there are reading clubs, or maybe you go and try to find out from your own network that, okay, are there any book clubs around, are there people sharing this habit of reading. So that's how you start exploring your target market. And target market is obviously again classified at different levels. This is the market which will eventually pay you. So you will make your first sale in this particular market. So, and when I say target market, I'm not talking about Sarojini Nagar or Chandni Chowk or any other market per se, but I'm saying the group of people who are kind of your persona, and they will probably say, okay, I want this solution and I will pay for it. And a very simple example is, whenever a new car is launched, Uh, let's take an example of the latest Maruti Victoris, which became a big hit recently over the last 3 4 months. Now, Maruti has targeted that product for a certain category of people. It is not targeting a product for somebody who has a fancy for luxury cars. It is not targeted to a customer who is in a budget mode, but it is targeted to an audience who is having a smaller family, maybe about husband, wife, and two children, or maybe one elder person, and who have a middle income of, let's say, about 30 40 lakhs. So they can afford that. So the target market for Maruti Victor is very, very clear. Now, that does not mean that a person who is on a budget conscious cannot buy a Maruti Victoris. Obviously, if he or she has the capacity, they will probably go and buy it. And it does not also mean that a person who owns luxury cars cannot buy that product. It can. But company is targeting that product to a certain age group, to a certain category, to a certain income group of people. And that's how probably the target market evolves. Now, what happens is, again, we as young people, we always think that, oh, anybody who's going to buy my product will become my target market. No, that's not the case. There are always outliers. There will be somebody who will probably buy your product just for another purpose. So remember one thing: this target market is something which is very critical for you, because this is the market which will probably grow as you grow. This is the market which will probably buy your product, give you feedback, and will also try to help you in growing this market. Because if your product is good, if their problems are solved, then they will spread the word and slowly it will grow. So as this market grows, you as a organization or as a startup starts growing. But if you are not focused on a particular market, then you will always be running from one place to another trying to say, hey, please buy my product, please have this product for you, which is not the right approach. Okay. And something which obviously you will understand when you probably step into the market, do your market research, there is a product market fit and there's a pyramid for it. And this is how the pyramid looks. And you see right at the bottom is the target customer or the target market. Now, how do you identify this target market? That is a bigger question. You identify them from the needs that they have. Now, let me ask you a question, and anybody can answer this. When I say I am hungry or I'm feeling hungry, what is my need? Can somebody tell me?
Sir, food or
Okay.
drink.
Or what else? Anybody else? So how many of you agree it's food? Raise your hands. Just raise your hands here so I'll get to know how many of you actually agree. Yeah.
Anyone?
No one agrees. Somebody said food and then nobody's agreeing to it. Why? Okay. Ishan raises the hand. Who else? Can we have,
Adyam?
yeah, can we have some hands? Adyam, Krit, Nitesh. Well, see, this is where I wanted to make the distinction. If I'm hungry, my need is to satisfy my hunger. My want is maybe food, maybe drink, maybe pizza, maybe just to sleep. So wants can be many, whereas needs are very specific. So if I say I am hungry, you as a startup should understand that his need is to satisfy his hunger, not having food, maybe not having something to drink, but maybe he just wants to sleep. He's too tired and he feels he's feeling hungry. I don't know. So that is how you understand the needs of your target customer. So next time, whenever you look at needs and wants, I'll tell you a very simple way to remember this. Whenever there is a problem faced by a customer needs a solution. It can be any solution. So I'll repeat. Whenever there's a customer problem and a customer is looking for a solution, the need is for a solution, any solution. When we're talking about wants, then the customer should say, or we should understand it by saying, the customer wants that solution, where the solution is very specific and informed to you that I want food, I want to go home, I want to play. So you see the word I want, want, want. And when I'm saying need, so I need protection, I need cure. So these are needs. And this is something which you understand, then you can build it in your solution. Because ultimately, your value proposition and the satisfaction of that need should meet. Then you will probably achieve what is called as the product market fit. If your value proposition is not satisfying the needs, and remember, I am talking about needs, I'm not talking about wants. If your value proposition doesn't satisfy the needs, then you will never achieve your product market fit. No matter how hard you try, no matter how many features you add into it, no matter you have a brilliant UI, UX, no matter you have a physical store, if you have a brilliant store, but then you are not solving the problem by satisfying the needs. And that is why probably understanding the target customer or target market comes into handy. Now, there is another concept which we always talk about, and it is important. Well, in a large population in a country like India, you have the whole market, right? From the Kashmir to Kanyakumari, you have everything as a market. So a total available market, which we also know as TAM, very commonly talked about in the startup world, is the whole market that you can cater to. So if you have a nice solution and you're looking for putting it across the country, and that whole market is yours. But since you're in a startup mode, you're still trying to figure out a lot of other things. You are constrained with a lot of resources and other things. You would want to look at a market which probably you can control. So if, let's say, you belong to Gurgaon, Faridabad, Bhiwadi, or any other place, then you will say, okay, I can't do the whole country. So let me identify market segment which I can target. So serviceable, addressable market. So probably you bring it down to, let's say, the North Indians. Okay. And then if you are, obviously, again, you don't have the scale to do things, then you say that, okay, this is my market where I'm going to go and start working. So that could be in North India, you could say Delhi NCR, you could say in Haryana, you could say Faridabad, Gurgaon, all these places. So TAM, SAM, SOM. Usually, every startup, every person who starts coming up with a solution starts with the SOM and then starts growing slowly. Because once people start accepting your product or their needs get satisfied, that's how the market grows. All right. But again, the question was, how do you understand this market? There is something known as segmentation. I gave you the example of Maruti Victoris. And I said it is for a specific segment of people or a particular target of people. So let's look at this definition. While a lot of textbooks, a lot of marketing people, a lot of business people, they will talk about needs and certain kinds and all those things. But entrepreneurs call it common sense. Why they call it common sense is because if you don't know how to segment this market, then probably you are not doing the things right. Okay. And there are certain variables to probably understand this. And these segmentation variables probably come from, so I told you about personas. It comes from either individuals, that's from where the personal part is coming in. It can come from group of people. So where your personas are gathered together. So I said people who read books, so a reading club. Or maybe organizations. So let's say you are into a business to business kind of a solution. So you're saying any organization which is helping farmers is my customer. So again, segmentation is to be used. And there are various variables of segmentations, as I said, location wise. So you can say, okay, I'm only going to target everybody in Gurgaon. In Gurgaon, I can also target all people who are aged between 18 to 20 years. And in that 18 to 20 years, I can target only male. All right. And in that, I can also look at males who are using smartphones. So location, age, gender, product usage. Okay. This can also be done if you were only to do location wise, you could say rural part of the country, urban part of the country. Age brackets I've already told you. Genders, you can say, well, I'm doing it for both the genders, it doesn't matter. Okay. But remember, you should always select those segments which will give you the maximum returns or which are the most attractive. That means where your kind of personas are more visible or most available. So, like if somebody wants to come out with a new kind of a school bag, now you would like to go to a city or a place where there are many school children or there are many schools. But if you go to, let's say, a rural country, then probably you will find one or two schools at a very large distance. That is not an attractive thing. So your attractiveness of the segment comes when you understand that, okay, there's a larger population who is ready to be segmented. And the single most important criteria is that today, if you are going after this segment should probably provide you the sustainability for a longer period of time, or it should provide you revenues, it should provide you profits for a longer period of time. It should not be that, oh, I've just sold it and done, I can't go back to that particular segment. No. So that is why companies and startups, they very carefully select their segments. Okay. And as I said, again, it will come back to the needs and the behavior towards the product. So that is why you have done that market scanning. That is why you have created those personas to understand. So if you see in the whole process, we are trying to narrow down and bring focus that, okay, this is where my product is going to be sold. And obviously it must be measurable. So you just can't have a guesswork. So some of the other variables which are there, demographic, you can use the demographic variables like age, gender, race, ethnicity, income, education, social class, religion. Geographic also, urban, rural, state-wise, city-wise, country-wise, terrain, climate, whichever, depending on the product that you have. And behavior. Behavior is something which you need to understand that. For example, there are a lot of brand loyal customers to a particular brand. For example, if I ask you, which is the toothpaste that comes to your mind, the first toothpaste that comes to your mind?
Colgate.
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 Correct. So it's a top of the mind recall. And brand loyalty is there not only by just procuring it, but also because it has kind of embedded into your behaviors and psychographics and everything, that you can always, whenever you go and buy a toothpaste, no matter you want to buy a Pepsodent, but you'll say, "Ha, bhaiya, wo dena ek toothpaste Colgate type wala." So that word will obviously connect. Now, tomorrow, if you want to come out with an oral product, you would want to go to those kind of people who are brand loyal and they continuously use that brand. And if you are going to a brand loyal customer, you know that if I kind of convince this customer to buy my product, then he or she will start showing loyalty towards my product as well. So brand usage, expectations, sometimes price sensitivity is a very important factor. For example, as I said, why companies have these variants? You remember there used to be a time when they used to say LXI, VXI, ZXI, or now Maruti has those Sigma, Alpha, Delta, and all those kind of things. That is primarily because of price sensitivity. Well, I can only afford, let's say, 100 rupee product. So I will look at all those options. And is the company willing to, okay, let me give him something. Let me take his 100 rupees and give him something back. So that is why these kind of price ranges are created or kind of products are differentiated like that. And then psychographics, it is more like personality driven, lifestyle, that what kind of lifestyle you are living. Okay, what are your habits and other things. Look at some examples here. I have kind of gathered it. So look at watches. People look at it only from the value perspective. Because if I say watch, yeah, it's of value. All right. Automobiles, it is value plus this can change over a period of time. Like when I bought my first car, it was a normal Wagoner. And now after so many years, 20, 25 years, I'm driving a different car. So while I still find value in an automobile, but my preferences have changed. So tomorrow, if the company has to segment me as a customer, they will not go back to that when I bought a Wagoner. They will see that what all I have been consuming, and I'm still finding value in buying an automobile. Okay, but there are products like soap, okay, or perfumes. These are more purpose driven. You will not buy a soap and keep it in your showroom or in a showcase. Okay, you won't. Maybe perfume bottles you can keep, but at the end of the day, what is the purpose? The purpose is usage. So you are looking at if you are getting into a category like soaps, perfumes, and toothpaste, you will more be focused on that it should deliver the purpose that the customer is buying this product for. Okay, and that is how certain things are segmented. Okay, but how do you evaluate these segments? That is it worth going after this? So these are 6 questions which I always share with everyone. This is that is the market segment identifiable? Well, it should not be that I cannot find this particular segment. It should be very clearly accessible to me. And I have some kind of information about them. So, for example, and this is where I say that now is the time when you start using internet and AI more sensibly. You say from the latest customer databases, you try to figure out what is the consumption of, let's say, automobiles, what is the consumption of mobile phones, what is the consumption of, let's say, sugar, or whatever item that you're looking at. So, identifiable market, accessible market, you should measure it because you need to understand the information. Then only you'll be able to measure it. And it should be large enough. It should be big enough so that you can target them, and slowly your market grows, your organization also grows, and your growth happens. Okay. It should also be kind of unique. And that uniqueness will only come when you understand their needs. And if you say, okay, I understand, मुझे पता है इसकी क्या जरूरत है, तो ऐसे ही जितने लोग हैं उनकी जरूरतों को आप आइडेंटिफाई करते रहोगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, if you are trying to solve a problem of a farmer, okay, now when you go to meet a farmer, you will meet 5, 10 farmers. Then you will understand that each farmer has a very specific need, but there is a larger need that they have, and that is, let's say, a regular supply of water. I'm giving a very simple example. Okay, or let's say irrigation sources which are there, or maybe machines for irrigation. So there will be some common need which is there, and that itself will become a unique, probably market segment for you. And then, as I said, it should be durable. Okay, so that over a period of time, when the customer starts showing loyalty towards your product, the cost of consuming your product should go down for them. Okay, again, I'll go back. I have always bought Maruti cars right from when I started working till today. And now when I look at my entire journey, I say, yeah, I have been very loyal to Maruti, and over a period of time, the affordability is there. Now, Maruti cars are not very expensive, but if you want, you can actually go and buy a 20, 25 lakh Maruti car also, or a 30 lakh Maruti car also. But over a period of time, I am seeing the affordability is maintained. So if I was part of a market segment for Maruti, then it is a durable segment because I'm continuously buying it, and the company is making the products affordable for me. So these six criterions are important for you to understand how these market segments are. So the interesting part is, and remember, all these stages which I'm telling you, right from market stay, market research, creating your personas, target market, segmentation, and then there is something known as targeting. Now, how do you target? That is why the word target market has come in. Okay, so market you have segmented, but now is the time for you to target it. Okay, and there are particular strategies, or I should say, there are these mixes which are there. So I'm sure you must have probably heard about uh, promotion or marketing as such. When you, if you see a cricket match, you see a lot of hoardings around, see a lot of ads coming in between. So companies are using different strategies to probably approach the target segment. And let me give you some examples on it. Now, there are kind of strategies which are probably used by a lot of companies. Okay, the first one is where there is one product given to one target market, and that's it. So you don't need to worry about the marketing mix here because that's a little different level. I'm saying one company, one product, one target market. Simple. Okay. Well, let's say when OnePlus as a company came in, the first OnePlus One mobile phone that they launched, one product targeted to all the people who can buy a product between 20 to 30,000, and that's it. Then came concentrated strategy. They said we'll have one product, but we'll segment it or probably target it to three different people. Somebody between 15 to 20, 20 to 25,000, and then 25 to 30,000. Okay, three different segments, and you have targeted one product. Then you have two different strategies to target it. One, you are targeting the product to a particular segment, and then there is another product which you are trying to target to another segment. A lot of these companies do. Like when you have mobile phones, you have tablets, and you have probably earbuds. So all these are now expansions of these strategies from the company. Great example is Apple. Started with an iPod, created a Apple phone, created tablets, and then MacBooks, and then they created the ecosystem around it. Okay, all targeted to different target markets, but in a concentrated manner. So some of these strategies are used by companies, which probably you will learn as you go further ahead. And then finally, there is something which is known as positioning. Positioning means, when I told you which is the toothpaste which comes to your mind, you said Colgate. That means the brand has taken a space in your mind. And positioning, in simple terms, is how can you place your product or your solution in the mind of the customer? That tomorrow it should become a Colgate. That tomorrow if somebody says, "Oh, I have a problem, I need a solution," that's the solution. So you need to communicate, you need to be at the right place at the right time. And that's why if you see a lot of startups, they sponsor some events, so that it is kind of putting it in your head. And if you see in the recent India New Zealand series, there was a campaign by Ather scooters. Very catchy ads. They have positioned Ather as a two-wheeler in my mind. So if tomorrow I'm thinking of an electric scooter, the first thing which will come to my mind is Ather. Although you have Bajaj, you have TVS, you have Hero, all the other which are making electric scooters. But because they have positioned it, they have kind of put that in my mind, I will probably go back to them. Okay. So sometimes as a startup person, you need to create that kind of a benefit statement, that okay, anybody who comes to my solution should understand what I am offering. Okay. And make sure it is relevant. And that is the DNA of your business, because that will allow people to become loyal to you. Then they will say, this set of people are giving me the right solution, and they continue to do that. Why we go to Zomato and Swiggy? Because they continue to deliver that promise. So anytime that we want to order food, no matter it is right next doors, we still go to Zomato and Swiggy, because there is a value. There are some offers, there are some schemes. Or when we go to a restaurant, we even make the payment via Zomato and Swiggy, because there are some offers, there are some discounts that we get. So continuously they have positioned themselves in our minds, and that's how they are trying to build a strong brand identity. All right. And some essential questions. Obviously, this was just an example I wanted to give you, but then I think we don't have the time. So, what kind of information should the positioning statement contain? I've already told you. One final thing before we close, because I know it's almost time, is how do you look at the business markets? Now, whatever I've been telling you is from the consumers, the like you and me, but there are businesses. So there are, when I come to my office every day on this highway, which is the NH48, there are a lot of businesses on either side, and a lot of these transportation businesses, a lot of these courier businesses which are there. So sometimes we can actually look at some of the variables. For example, in Delhi, there is a car market, there is a furniture market. So geographic location becomes very critical. Then you have to look at the type of organization which you are going to deal with. See, you can be a small supplier to a very big organization, but you need to understand that what are their products, how are you going to be aligned, what is their distribution way, how are they distributing products across the market. Okay. And then you need to understand that how big is this customer for you, whether it has importance or whether it is very important for you. So I think what you need to understand essentially with whatever I've been sharing with you is, do your market research well, look around, make your notes, look at people, look at their behaviors, understand their likes and dislikes, understand what are their needs and why their need is not yet fulfilled. So why will somebody take your solution when so many solutions are already existing? That means the other solutions have not yet satisfied the need. So you have to come in. But for that, you have to understand your market. You have to segment the market very carefully and then target them, that you want to offer one product, multiple products, or whichever way. And then probably position it in their heads so that they keep coming back to you. All right. So if you understand this, then probably whatever proof of concept or prototype you have, now you should look at it from these lenses. That who's going to be my customer? What is that customer's persona? Why his or her needs are yet not fulfilled because there are already existing competition? How can I target this customer? And do I know enough so that I can position my product or a solution in their minds? All right. So I'll be happy to take more questions from you now. Siraj?
Yes, sir. Ahsan,
Yes.
yes. Shivansis, any questions?
Anything you want to ask about your project? Yes. Yes, Nitesh.
Yeah. Nitesh.
So for like we have strategies for customer acquisition. So how can we mainly focus on the segments for customer acquisition rather than the product as a segment of customers?
So, Nitesh, if I may ask you, what is your project about?
So we have AV Safe. It is a bird protector prototype. It uh, warns the bird with auditory signals and LED warnings. It
Hmm.
is placed on top wires that are like the high electric circuit wires, and it warns the bird that are the migratory birds especially.
Correct.
And yes, sir. So it also like leads to less power cost structure and damages to the infrastructure of power lines.
Hmm.
So we mainly focus on our product to be based on that thing, to deal with power line companies, government agencies.
Hmm.
But in the last session, we got an advice that we should also focus on airplanes, like the airplane sector.
Airports.
Yes, sir, airports,
Yeah. And
because
I can give you another area. You can look at a lot of good societies. I'll tell you, at the society where I stay, there's a lot of menace about these pigeons coming and dirting the place, and so that's also a small market for you. You can actually start going to these societies. So, for example, in Gurgaon, if you're aware of, there are very high-end societies,
yes, sir.
and they would also want a solution that pigeons don't come there and dirty their places and their houses. So those are also very good potential markets. And see, like, you are thinking about only these power lines and probably airports, but there's another market altogether which probably people are not even looking at, because everybody will look at that. So you should look at probably that, oh, there are many societies and everybody has this problem of pigeons coming and littering the place and other things. So that's why. So probably look at that. So again, important is you have a solution which is good solution, but can there be somebody who will probably need this solution even more now than probably a bigger company? Because see, when you have to deal with government, other airport authorities and all that, it's a long process. But if you have to go to a society, you have to just go to the RW and say, hey, I've got a solution, apply this for 10-15 days and you will figure it out.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Adhyam?
I think he's.
I think there is no more that much.
No problem. No problem. Please feel free to reach out to Mr. Siraj if you have any queries. If not now, maybe at a later stage, I'll be more than happy to address.
Mhm.
Mr. Siraj can share his details and probably my email address, and you can drop an email. That's not a problem. I'll be more than happy to help you.
ठीक.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing such a insightful sessions and simplifying in an important topic in a simple way to our innovators. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, and all the best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Isha.
you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Nitesh. Bye.